Well, it's been a while, but we're here with Hayden after a Kingstonian game. For various reasons, mainly my own, we haven't been able to do this for a while, so a decent amount to catch up on. Let's start with this afternoon. Hayden, a 2-2 draw here at home to Leatherhead. It meant more to them than it did to us, but what did you make of the performance this afternoon?
I think when you factor that in, the boys played very well. Whichever way you look at it, this was Leatherhead's season. This hasn't defined our season. Obviously, we're looking forward to, albeit, maintaining an unbeaten record to try and achieve as high as possible league position. Our season is more now about the Surrey Senior Cup. I think that's fair to say. So when you consider that the conditions and the fact we played a very difficult game on Saturday, I think that the boys were a credit in the way that they fought and they competed. Their attitude to the game was excellent, and I think more than a little unfortunate not to have won.
You mentioned Saturday's game, that 3-3 draw at Lewis. For my money, that was potentially our best performance since beating Lewis here back in January. A game that had everything, and we were, despite the late equaliser, perhaps could easily have won the game as well.
I think we could have won the game. I think tactically in the first half we were spot on. Didn't make for the best viewing, I understand that, but we needed to make sure that they couldn't play through the thirds. We needed to tease them into longer passes, which they did with the diagonals from the likes of Mitchell Nelson. So we were organised to set up against that. Unfortunately, Julian made a mistake which gave them the goal. So in the second half, we had to make them more nervous with a more offensive performance, which we did very well. I was really pleased to see Walter score. I thought he was very good, and I thought he was again today. So we're now seeing his capabilities, that's for sure. And it was a really good performance. It was a performance against a really good opponent, who again had to win. They had to win to really maintain their playoff push. And we went behind 3 times, and to go behind so unfortunately in the 91st minute would normally have killed sides, but it didn't. And to a credit, we got a deserved equaliser, which was thoroughly deserved, I thought.
And sets up, these 2 results set up the huge winner-takes-all clash for a top 8 finish on Saturday.
Well, I think Margate won today.
Exactly. Well, if we win, I think we'd finish above them on goal difference.
Okay, yes, I think we would.
I think we're 3 points behind them currently with a better goal difference.
Well, what more excitement do you need?
They'll be playing for a draw, presumably, just to ensure they get that top 8 finish.
No, we want to finish in the top 8, but we want to be unbeaten. Our ambition is to be unbeaten for the rest of the season. That will mean we'll have, after what was, let's be fair, a disastrous February that put pay to our promotion hopes, we would have recovered from that with 1 defeat in 11. And this club needs silverware. I think that it will be the club's first final since the Faversham Cup final, which the Alan Turvey Trophy, which I attended. Brilliant Kingstonian performance that was, 5-0. And Faversham actually started the game very well that day. And I think it'll be our first appearance in the Surrey Senior Cup final since beating Wimbledon. Right. And I think if we play Dorking, I think actually the attendance will be even bigger than that game. I think there'll be 2,500, 3,000 people there. I know that Mark's really looking forward to it. It's a competition he wants to win. And in our first full season together, I think it'll be a really fitting way to end the campaign.
Dorking, potentially trickier opponent from Wimbledon at the moment, but let's not say too much about that. What's happening with that semi-final? What can we say? The game's been postponed, but no new date in. When should we expect to hear more about that?
Well, I would think tomorrow. I don't quite know what's happened. And that's not me wanting to hide any information. I really don't know. I still haven't had a real explanation of why the game was off. I understand that Chertsey had difficulties in fielding a team. But listen, I'll simply allow protocol to take place. We'll allow the Surrey FA to go through the necessary measures in their appeal. And let's see what happens. But I would certainly like to think that within the next 24, 48 hours, a decision would have been made on the outcome of the semi-final.
So this is our last home game here, certainly league game, semi-final dependent. Will you be pleased to move on from here? Or without wanting to, Well, I'll just leave that with you and let you get yourself into trouble.
Well, let's say first of all that I think that there are certain people here that have really worked hard for us. Brian over there, who's a ground maintenance, couldn't do more for you. I think that John Williams, on what he has to work with the pitch in extraordinary difficult circumstances, with resources and 2 senior clubs playing on the pitch, has really worked hard to do a good job for us, and we thank him. And we've got the guys in the bar that always make us feel welcome. So look, let's thank Corinthian Casuals and let's move forward to a new chapter. You know, what I would say is, in moving forward to a new chapter in Tooting, I think that it is a hugely important period in the recent history of Kingstonian. It'll be our 3rd ground share since leaving Kings Meadow in whenever that was, in 2017. There's obviously a clear ambition to get the team and the club back into the borough with our own stadium. But the way that I would look upon it is this, is that next season Kingstonian Football Club have a huge responsibility to produce a first-class team, to ensure that the supporters who have supported us in Tolworth and had a 15-minute walk to the ground, to ensure that they jump in the cars and they get in public transport to come to Tooting, that myself and the club directors produce a really first-class team for them that are going to take the next stage and take the top 8 and turn it into the top 5 and win promotion, to repay the face that the Kingstonian support will offer us and the effort and the time they'll offer us in coming to Tooting. So I think next season is one of the biggest seasons and one of the most significant seasons in Kingstonian history. If we're going to be outside of the borough, we have to produce a first-class football team, and that will be on my shoulders and working with the club directors to ensure that we achieve exactly that.
Without saying too much at this stage, because presumably you can't, presumably there might be a bigger turnover with this squad than there have been either the last 2 summers.
Yeah, I think so. I think that we need to look very closely to why we haven't quite made it this year. The fact is that we walked off the pitch, Haringey Borough, 25th of January, something like that, in the top 5, and up till then, very good. February was the worst 4 or 5 weeks of my career. I've seen a lot in football, having been a football manager since 1998, and things were happening beyond my control that I couldn't believe. And obviously the results were not what we wanted, albeit, strangely, a lot of the performances were. We have to analyse why that happened. We have to analyse why, even though I think that we've recovered very well, I think we're now beaten only once in 7, I think that's right, after today. We have fallen short. We have to admit that we've fallen short. And I think that if you look around the pitches in non-league football at the moment and, you know, looking at the difficulties we have here, I think it is a reason why we're falling short. So next season, Kingstonian have to produce a team that will play with our DNA, our football philosophy. But when you approach the likes of February and March onwards, when the pitches get very difficult, we have to have a more pragmatic approach, and we have to have a more physical presence in the team to do what we haven't been able to do this season, and that's grind out the victories. So I would say it's my biggest summer as a football manager in quite some time, and like I say, we need to make sure that we go to Tooting really excited to go into a nice stadium, to go and understand and play what's going to be a very good pitch, and give Kingstonian what they want, and that is a promotion-winning team.
Indeed. Well, we won't be able to chat after the Margate game on Saturday, but hopefully we'll have... Well, hopefully... I don't know how many... I was going to say hopefully we'll only have one more Surrey Senior Cup game, so we'll be put straight through to the final, but that would also imply that I'd hope that we'd lose the semi. Hopefully we'll have a Surrey Senior Cup final to preview and look back on some silverware, and if not, there'll also be plenty of time over the summer to reflect on what's gone and look ahead. But Hayden, thanks as always. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Great to see you.